Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 10 Part 14 based on novel. So let's start. Deep Lightning Mountain's crisis was finally dispelled after the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander weighed his options and chose to temporarily withdraw in the face of Lindong's and Little Flame's powerful resistance. However, the both of them were clearly aware that this matter was not over. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander had only chosen to withdraw because his true body was unable to come. However, once he had the time, his fury would definitely sweep over in a frightening manner like heavenly lightning. However, the Lindong duo did not have any good solutions to this problem. They were unwilling to submit to the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander, and this would definitely result in a conflict between both parties. Moreover, the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander actually dared to try and snatch Lindong's Green Heaven materialized dragon skill. This made it impossible to resolve the friction between them. Since it was impossible to resolve, they could only rely on the most primitive method to settle the matter. The fist was king. A Samsara stage expert was a peak existence in this world, and anyone with such strength would definitely be a titan no matter the location. In the Eastern Xian region, the sect master of a super sect only had such strength. Even though Lindong and Little Flame were much stronger than before, it was still rather troublesome for them to fight such an existence. Although they no longer felt as afraid as back then, it was still a considerably huge problem. Of course, given the Lindong duo's characters, they would not even think of hiding when trouble came looking for them. A Samsara stage expert was indeed troublesome. However, it had not reached the level where the both of them would be forced to flee miserably. All they could do now was to see what kind of tricks the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was going to pull. Peace gradually returned to Deep Lightning Mountain. However, there was a tenseness under its relaxed surface. After all, everyone knew that there was conflict between Deep Lightning Mountain and Blood Dragon Hall. The latter was clearly a titan that was far stronger than the former. Hence, many people believed that this conflict was irrational. After all, even Xu Song from back then could only choose to submit in the face of the powerful Blood Dragon Hall. Yet, the new demon commander of Deep Lightning Mountain had offended Blood Dragon Hall before his position had even been stabilized. Such actions were unbelievably foolish in many people's eyes. However, regardless of the rumors that spread in the outside world, Deep Lightning Mountain continued to remain calm. Surprisingly, the Blood Dragon Hall that had suffered a loss and retreated made no attempts to retaliate during the subsequent period of time. This unusual silence caused many to be stunned. Only those with strong information networks were aware that the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander of Blood Dragon Hall was in seclusion. Hence, he did not have the time to find trouble with Deep Lightning Mountain. Some of those gloating individuals felt rather regretful towards this, however, they quickly laughed coldly. Everyone was clearly aware that this so-called peace would not last for long. In another month, the ancient divine item treasury would open. At that time, the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander will definitely leave his seclusion and Deep Lightning Mountain's luck will also run out. What that time came, the owner of Deep Lightning Mountain would perhaps be changed again. It is rumored that the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander is in seclusion, no wonder only a demon spiritual body came that day. Little Flame looked towards Lindong and spoke with a frown after hearing the report by his subordinate in a hall within Deep Lightning Mountain. Lindong nodded. He looked towards the worried faces of Chen Tong's group below and smiled. Everyone, just do what you usually do. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander might be troublesome to deal with, but destroying our Deep Lightning Mountain is not an easy task either. The many experts from Deep Lightning Mountain looked at the smiling young face of Lindong. It seemed that the latter did not understand the meaning of fear even in the face of such a frightening opponent like the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Ha ha, since Lord Lindong has put it this way, there is nothing for us to worry about. Lord Lindong's ability far exceeds the estimations of people like us. Chen Tong glanced at the others and smilingly said. The others nodded after hearing this. In their eyes, this ever-smiling young man was unfathomable. Perhaps, he did possess the confidence to deal with the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Everyone in the hall made their reports before cupping their hands together and withdrawing. Big brother, what should we do? The reason that Heaven Dragon Demon Commander is in seclusion is likely related to the divine item treasury. Will we still be going there? Little Flame looked towards Lindong and inquired after the hall became empty. Why not? Lindong chuckled. Although he was not too interested in those ordinary divine objects within the divine item treasury, he was extremely interested in the treasury itself. It was named a mysterious divine palace. This divine item was ranked 10th on the ancient divine object ranking and was clearly an extraordinary item. It would definitely become the divine object with the highest battle power in Lindong's hands if he could get hold of it. There are 3 great demon commanders in this beast war region. Each of them has some grudges with the other 2, hence when we assemble in front of the divine item treasury, that Heaven Dragon Demon Commander will not dare to really fight it out with us. Otherwise, the other 2 great demon commander will take advantage of the situation. Lindong paused at this point. Moreover, even if he really fights us, the Sky-Devouring Corpse should be able to hold him back. The Sky-Devouring Corpse had already recovered a substantial amount of power after being repaired by the Nine-Tailed Spirit Fox. Although it would be difficult for it to defeat a Samsara stage expert, that Heaven Dragon Demon Commander will also be unable to completely defeat the Sky-Devouring Corpse given its unique properties. Big Brother is indeed amazing. Little Flame grinned. His grin contained a simple and honest feeling from years ago. We could save ourselves such trouble if little Martin was here. I wonder how that fellow is doing now. Lindong stretched his waist and said, "It is most difficult to take advantage of second brother. He is likely better off than us." Little Flame scratched his head. Even though he was now a commander, he was still a little afraid of little Martin. This was not actual fear. Rather, it was because little Martin was the one who guided Little Flame's training back then, and it was likely that there had been many embarrassing black-face moments and reprimanding involved. Little Flame glanced at the smiling Lindong when he thought of this. He still felt that Big Brother was still the strongest. This was because even second brother, who was the most difficult to take advantage of, frequently appeared quite helpless in front of Lindong. You should take care of Deep Lightning Mountain during this period of time. Lindong stood up and directly walked out of the hall. Little Flame nodded. He was aware that Lindong had been bitterly training his mental energy during this period of time. Hence, Lindong should not be troubled by the matters of Deep Lightning Mountain. The ancient divine item treasury would open soon, and at that time, the Beast War region would turn crazy because of it. Lindong clearly needed to try his best to raise his strength during this period of time. Otherwise, the pressure he will face will be even greater. If one was careless in this Beast War region, one would be devoured until nothing remained. All of one's previous accomplishments would vanish in an instant. Bang! For rays of light crossed each other in the vast hall while formidable mental energy swept apart like a storm as 4 figures flashed past. A skinny figure landed on the ground as 3 cracks appeared on his shoulder. Evidently, they were 3 rather large wounds. However, such pain was no longer felt by the current him. All he did was turn his head slightly. 3 light figures were behind him. They suddenly jolted before exploding into specks of light that filled the sky with a bang. Not bad. Yang's voice transmitted over through the air as he looked at Lindong below. Finally, he smiled and said, "You are already able to defeat 3 human-ranked doppelgangers. This is much stronger than when you first stepped into this place." "Only 3, huh?" Lindong's eyes looked at the tightly shut stone door located at the end of the hall as he helplessly shook his head. Lindong had been training in the endless divine prison during this period of time, and his mental energy continuously improved. According to what Yang had said, once he was able to defeat an Earth-ranked doppelganger, his mental energy would be equivalent to the peak advanced divine symbol master. However, in order to obtain the qualifications to challenge an Earth-ranked doppelganger, one must defeat 10 human-ranked doppelgangers together. Clearly, Lindong was still rather far from that level. Do not be overambitious. This is already quite fast, Yan laughed. How long did the Ice Master take to beat 10 human-ranked doppelgangers together back then? Lindong asked. About a month. Yang thought for a moment and said. Lindong was speechless. He had only reached the level of beating 3 doppelgangers after 1 month. That Ice Master, she was indeed abnormally strong. Why must you insist on comparing yourself with the Ice Master? Yang suddenly asked. Lin Dong's expression froze, but he did not reply. Is it because that little girlfriend of yours is the Ice Master's reincarnation? You seem to be a little afraid of this. Yang's eyes seemed to be able to penetrate one's heart. Lin Dong lifted his head and deeply inhaled a breath of air, before he spoke in a faint voice. I'm afraid that she will turn into someone I do not wish to see because she has to carry such a heavy burden. If it is possible, I will carry that burden. He did not want that lovely and cute young lady from back then to lose the smile which he liked to see because of this so-called reincarnation. He also did not wish for those around him to change. If it was possible, he did not mind standing in front of that young lady and protect her from all the troubles of the outside world, just like how his skinny back that could seemingly support the sky had stood in front of her when the young lady was trying to stop those powerful enemies back then. Yang looked at Lin Dong. He pursed his lips and softly said, therefore, you wish to surpass the previous Ice Master in all aspects. You should be aware that this is quite difficult. Moreover, due to reincarnation, no one can truly know how that little girlfriend of yours will turn out. Lin Dong slowly nodded. Soon after, he lifted his head and smiled. Hence, I wish to surpass her, although it is difficult. You should also know that I am extremely stubborn. Let's continue training. Lin Dong stood up once again after speaking. His calm eyes looked towards Yang. Yang could only helplessly nod his head and wave his sleeve upon seeing this. This time around, 4 human-ranked doppelgangers slowly appeared and a cruel fight started once again in the hall. While Lin Dong was training in this crazy fashion, 1 month stealthily passed by in a flash. 1 month stealthily passed. Meanwhile, the atmosphere of the entire Beast War region gradually became fiery hot following the flow of time. Various rumors spread all over the region. Nonetheless, regardless of how the news spread, they were most centered around a main topic. Ancient Divine Item Treasury. When anyone mentioned these 4 words, rich greed would undoubtedly surge from deep within their eyes. Anyone who has lived for a period of time in the Beast War region was clearly aware just how crazy this Beast War region would become every 3 years. Almost every faction would stop fighting during this period of time. After which, they would turn their searing hot eyes towards the ancient divine item treasury. Divine objects. To the eyes of many people, these 2 simple words were a synonym for the word powerful. Even the most ordinary divine object possessed might that was comparable to a heavenly soul treasure. If one was truly fortunate and obtained an ancient divine object which was ranked on the ancient divine object ranking, it would cause countless people to become envious immediately. Although one would require the strength of an ancient divine tablet in order to obtain a divine object inside the divine item treasury, it seems like there was a large number of treasures within. Few people might be able to obtain a divine object each time the treasury was opened, but there would be many powerful soul treasures flowing out from the ancient divine item treasury too. In fact, it seemed like the ancient divine item treasury did not impose a limit on the number of soul treasures at this level. Hence, everyone was qualified to obtain one. As long as one was able to obtain a soul treasure, one's trip would not have been in vain. This was also the reason why the opening of the ancient divine item treasury became the grandest event in the Beast War region every 3 years. In preparation to obtain powerful soul treasures from within the ancient divine item treasury, many factions rubbed their hands together and prepared for a big fight. Deep Lightning Mountain. A black army stood orderly in front of a large hall. Murderous aura spread over and covered the entire place. The 8 generals of the Deep Lightning armor were fully armored as they stood in front of this stern army. Their aura was frightening. Sir Flame Commander, we have completed our preparations. We can leave upon your command. Chen Tong looked towards the towering stone stage in front. There was a metal tower-like figure there. He stood proudly as a shockingly fierce aura spread out from within his body in a wave-like fashion. Little Flame's tiger eyes swept over the tiger-devouring army, which had a ferocious and frightening aura, before a satisfied expression appeared in his eyes. Immediately, he nodded slowly. A low and deep voice spread. Mohu, Gya, the both of you will guard the deep lightning mountain. Everyone else, including the tiger-devouring army, will follow me to the divine item mountain range. Yes? The Mohu duo below responded in a deep voice. Sir Demon Commander, when shall we leave? Chen Tong inquired. Once Big Brother exits his secluded cultivation. Little Flame turned around. His eyes looked towards a training hall in the deep lightning mountain. Lin Dong had been training bitterly in a retreat, and he did not show any signs of appearing even until now. Chen Tong and the others nodded upon hearing this. Promptly, they ceased speaking. The entire area in front of the hall had once again become completely quiet. Only a dense ferocity lingered in the sky. This wait continued for a couple of hours. When the sun in the sky became extremely hot, everyone suddenly sensed a sudden, shocking invisible wave spreading from the distant hall. That ripple might appear invisible, but it was filled with a terrifying pressuring force. Roar! The ripple spread while an earth-shaking dragon roar was suddenly emitted from the large hall. A light ray formed from mental energy suddenly rose from within the hall. The ray of light gradually disappeared. A skinny figure walked over through the sky. There was not the least bit of yuan power ripples around him. Instead, it was filled with majestic mental energy. The mental energy seemed to have turned into thunder that continuously rumbled as his footsteps landed. Chen Tong and the rest wore shocked gazes as they looked at the young man who appeared in the air above this hall in a flash. Their minds felt a little lost when they looked at his jet-black eyes. They seemed like black holes, which caused one's soul to involuntarily sink within it. Such shocking mental energy! Chen Tong's group quickly recovered. Their hearts were shocked. All of them hurriedly lowered their heads. The strength of Lin Dong's mental energy had actually reached a stage whereby it could actually affect their minds. Lin Dong stared at the large army waiting below, before he gave a faint smile. The majestic mental energy floating around him was gradually withdrawn. His finger subsequently touched a black eye. There seemed to be a unique ripple flashing over his eye. It seemed like the bitter training during this period of time had also allowed him to reap some benefits in terms of his mental energy probing. Let's get moving. Lin Dong waved his hand. Without further ado, his body moved and transformed into a wisp of green smoke that floated into the distance. Go! Little Flame let out a low and cold cry upon seeing this. He stomped his feet and his body turned into a ray of black light that followed behind Lin Dong with lightning-like speed. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Chen Tong and the tiger-devouring army also rose into the sky before exploding forward. The sound of air being split apart resounded in the sky, giving it an extremely spectacular appearance. The Divine Item Mountain Range was located at the middle of the Beast War region. This spot could be considered as the only place in the Beast War region that was not dominated by any faction. It was not due to its lack of resources. On the contrary, it was because this place was far too tempting. As a result, no faction was bold enough to occupy this place for itself. Even the powerful factions of the three great demon commanders in the Beast War region were no exception. Countless pairs of blood-red eyes were constantly staring at this place. Any strong individual or faction that intended to use various means to occupy this place would become the common enemy of the entire Beast War region without exception. Typically, this Divine Item Mountain Range was fairly deserted. However, within a short few days, this place had become the most lively place in the entire Beast War region. Not only did various large armies from the large factions of the Beast War region came rushing over, but even factions outside of the Beast War region had also traveled great distances to reach this place because of the ancient Divine Item Treasury's reputation. Currently, the entire mountain range was densely packed with people. Countless rushing wind sounds continued to reverberate across the sky. Numerous individuals rushed over from the distance like locusts. After which, they landed in this mountain range. The Divine Item Treasury has finally opened up again. I wonder if there any powerful divine objects will appear this time around. The 9 Sky Heavy Mountain from before was ranked 32nd on the ancient divine item ranking. The scene back then was really lively. Countless number of people died in a bid to fight for that treasure. Finally, that treasure landed in the hands of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Regardless of how the fight proceeds, these items will simply fall into the hands of those Demon Commander's factions. Which other faction will dare to intervene? That may not be true. When the time comes, everyone will lose their minds due to the excitement of seeing a divine object. Who cares what faction one belongs to? With so many people attacking together, it is likely that even a great demon commander will not dare to face the fury of everyone. Various noises reverberated across this huge mountain range. This buzzing sound could be clearly heard even from a great distance. Swish! Suddenly, a large cluster of rushing wind came transmitted from the horizon amidst all the noise. Countless pairs of eyes glanced over. They could see a monstrous ferocity sweeping over. This ferocity was like a black torrent rolling over with a frightening dark aura. That is, the Deep Lightning Mountain's tiger-devouring army. The Deep Lightning Mountain has came indeed. It is rumored that the current Deep Lightning Mountain Demon Commander used to be its #1 ferocious general, the Flame General. The Deep Lightning Mountain had even clashed with the Blood Dragon Hall some time ago. They are truly bold. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander will definitely appear today. At that time, we will definitely have a good show to watch. He is indeed a little arrogant. Back then, even Shu Song did not dare to disrespect the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Yet, this new Demon Commander already dared to do so before he has even fully developed. How reckless! Private conversations spread across the mountain. The black torrent also whistled over from some distance away. Finally, it directly landed on a mountain in front of the countless pairs of eyes. The entire place clearly became much quieter following the arrival of the group from the Deep Lightning Mountain. Various curious gazes were shot over. Clearly, the face-off between the Deep Lightning Mountain and the Blood Dragon Hall had caused many people to become interested in the new demon commander of the Deep Lightning Mountain. Lin Dong completely ignored their gazes. He lifted his eyes and looked towards the deepest parts of the mountain range. He could detect an extremely faint ripple from that spot. This fluctuation was a little similar to that of the ancestral stone in his body. It is indeed a grand event. Lin Dong's eyes swept around him. A surprise flashed across his face. Countless majestic aura was surging towards the sky. That grand manner was quite spectacular. Little Flame nodded. His scarlet tiger eyes swept around him. Some of the onlookers that were staring at him quickly turned away. The reputation of the top ferocious general of the Deep Lightning Mountain was quite well known in the Beast War region. Everyone was clearly aware how brutal this person was. "Let's rest," Lin Dong said. His brow was lifted slightly after his voice sounded. Turning his head, he looked towards the northern sky. A monstrous blood light suddenly shot over. At the same time, an extremely pressurizing aura surged throughout the Divine Item mountain range from all directions. This aura directly caused the conversations all over the mountain to halt. Soon after, some gloating eyes were cast towards the mountain, where the group from the Deep Lightning Mountain was located. That's... Lin Dong felt something. He crossed his 10 long fingers and glanced at Chen Tong's faces beside him, which had become a lot more tense. A faint smile appeared. Is the Blood Dragon Hall about to arrive? Chen Tong's group slowly nodded upon hearing this. Their eyes were filled with worry and cautiousness. Heaven Dragon Demon Commander Lin Dong lifted his head. He looked at the direction that the pressurizing aura had originated from. Those originally dark black eyes seemed to have become even deeper. Is his actual body about to arrive? This video will end here.